don't you?
You were
This
going
is a
behind
cute
his
waste
back
of your 5
and
minutes.
appointing
A
people.
huge,
I reclaim my
cute
time.
waste of your 5 minutes that
I
led
reclaim my
nowhere.
time. You are
Do not
repeatedly
pass go,
going
do not
behind the
collect
president's
$2
Gentleman from
back.
Colorado's
Failed.
time. Go ahead, Mr. Crow.
You are repeatedly going behind President Trump's back, appointing people who he has accused of lying, who the White House is
Gentleman's
accused of
time's
lying.
expired. The
And you
chair
are
now
not being
recognizes
honest with
the gentlelady
President
from
Trump.
South Carolina, Ms. Mace.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request unanimous consent to enter a number of documents into the record. The first of which is a statement from Corey Mills, First Sergeant, stating his forms and accounts of his military service are falsified. The second document is a picture of Corey Mills wearing a Bronze Star from 2019 before he ever got a Bronze Star. The third document is a document that conveys a Bronze Star medal and his life-saving care to the wounded, and according to the soldiers who were there, they said it never happened, according to the men who were there. The next document is a transcript of a conversation I had with Brigadier General Arnold Gordon Bray, who confirmed that he did not review, did not read, did not physically sign the form DD, I guess 638, form 638, that Mills submitted for a Bronze Star. And to be candid, he said, quote, "I didn't look at it." I asked to review the email that he sent to Mills' staff about authorizing his signature for a form he did not review, and he said that he would not share it with me. That's a future subpoena. I would like to enter to record a picture of Corey Mills, who says this is the second time he got blown up, but what he wouldn't tell people that the blood on the pant leg in this photo is the blood of Sergeant Ray. It is not Corey Mills' blood. In the same series of photos he shares when he said he was, quote, blown up, are images of a Humvee that exploded with severe damage. That is not his Humvee. His Humvee purportedly was 50 yards away and suffered no damage and was not blown up. This is a copy of Corey Mills' marriage certificate with a 9/11 imam at a 9/11 mosque, entered for the record and redacted, with family members' names redacted and protected. This is a picture of Corey Mills with a purported Russian hooker in Afghanistan, which he, of course, denies. And then last but not least, I would like to request unanimous consent to enter into the record a restraining order against Corey Mills for dating violence. Thank you. I just buried my father on Thursday, Mr. Chairman. My father died with shrapnel in his body. He had 3 tours of combat, 2 in Vietnam, 1 in 1965 during the coup d'etat of the Dominican Republic. And I take stolen valor seriously, because we have men and women in uniform that have given their lives. And an individual that steals the stories of dead soldiers or injured soldiers have no right to serve in this body, let alone on this committee. And so I take it very seriously. I want to thank you, Mr. Secretary, and the folks that serve under you in the Department of War. As my father lay dying on April 14th, there was only one thing that calmed him down, that gave him the courage to pass on to the next life. And that was for me to read stories and testimony from 3 different soldiers that we didn't have, our family previously didn't have. We've been doing a lot of research on my father's service when he received the Distinguished Service Cross with V device in 1968 in Dong Zai. He rescued every man in that battle, in that firefight, over a 2-day period. He rescued them dead or alive on his own. He stood up to take fire over and over and over again. He called on artillery, heavy artillery, onto his position. Within 100 meters of his position, the man should have never made it out of Vietnam alive. And in fact, his commanding officers kept him back in many cases because they thought he was on a suicide mission because he was just so dangerous out there. But he saved the lives of so many soldiers. And so as he was taking his final breaths, I was provided by the Department of the Army some testimony of soldiers we didn't have, and diagrams and information. It was the one thing that calmed him down so that he could pass away knowing that he was a war hero and knowing that Jesus loved him. And it changed our family's life, and it changed his life in his last moments, his last breaths, his last hours. And for that, I am so grateful for the ship that you're running at the Pentagon and the Department of War. I have heard from people in the way that you're trying to innovate and trying to change the way we do business there. And I'm glad that you're firing people. There are people there that are getting in your way. They need to go. And the efficiencies that you want to bring, whether it's shipbuilding, whether it's cyber, whether it's AI, whether it's public-private partnerships, we have never seen a secretary at the Department of War who has been as innovative as you have. So I can't say enough good things about you right now. I was impressed. I was concerned about troops on the ground in Iran early on, and I was impressed with where we are today, how those soldiers were evacuated that got in that flight that crashed. But everything I have seen, you have surpassed all of my expectations, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and God bless you.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Maine, Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Secretary and General Kane. I'd like to use my time to drill down on an important decision concerning America's surface fleet. That is the future of the DDG-51 Flight 3 destroyer. Everyone on this committee knows about the Navy's struggles to successfully design, manage, and field new classes of ships. To name a few examples, I'll highlight the Littoral Combat Ship, the Zumwalt-class destroyer, and the recently canceled Constellation-class frigate. By any measure, the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer has been a highly successful program that continues to deliver the Navy a large surface combatant it can depend on. So the Zumwalt-class destroyers were going to replace the Arleigh Burke. It's a ship with some interesting capabilities, but the Navy rushed to construction before the design was complete, and it lacked a workable weapon system that the Navy wanted to outfit it with. So the Navy scrapped the program at 3 ships and went back to the DDG. I'm in my 8th year on this committee, and the entire time I've been in conversation with the Navy publicly and privately about the latest Flight 3 destroyer and how critical a role it would play, and now is playing for the surface fleet. And yet, even before we delivered one to the fleet, the Navy was already planning the DDG-X. I'm skeptical about the transition to yet another new class of surface ship, given the troubles I've laid out already. From my perspective, we have a proven hull for an Arleigh Burke destroyer that is described by CNO after CNO again and again and again as the backbone of the Navy's surface fleet. But now I'm even more skeptical. The proposal cuts production of the destroyer down to just 1 ship, scraps the future destroyer, and proposes $17 billion to build just a single new battleship, a class of ship the Navy decommissioned in 1992. Mr. Secretary, when you visited Bath Iron Works, you discussed this budget proposal with shipbuilders. You said, quote, "We're maxing out on DDGs. It's a workhorse, and it's a damn good workhorse." You were right about the DDGs. They are a workhorse. They're cost-efficient, deadly effective, and feared by our enemies. And I'm wondering why would we move on so quickly from a relatively new Flight 3 destroyer that's the gold standard for ballistic missile and drone defense capabilities. It's a ship that's proven itself time and again, recently in the Mediterranean, Persian Gulf, and the Taiwan Strait. I understand the Navy wants to field hypersonic missiles, but look no further than the 3 Zumwalt ships that the Navy has in the fleet that have been refitted with vertical launch tubes capable of delivering hypersonic missiles at a great payload at over 17,000 miles this year. Perhaps what's most troubling to me is that the battleship plan proposes moving at a pace that is, I think, extremely dangerous, or just high risk, low reward. To begin construction so quickly, breezing right through design. It's well documented that expediting design and preemptively moving to construction is the greatest recipe for failure. This represents an unacceptable cost to taxpayers if it fails, and leaves America less secure and our Navy less prepared. I understand the proposed battleship was a bit of a dream child of the recently departed Secretary of the Navy. I want to remind everyone here that recent history is littered with failed efforts to replace existing successful programs that remain the best in class worldwide. This isn't the failure of shipbuilders or sailors. It's a failure by leaders to learn a simple lesson. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. My sincere hope is that you, the Navy, and the Congress will pump the brakes on this battleship. Take the time to get it right, whatever it is. And for now, focus on the workhorse you can depend on. America cannot afford a surface fleet without a backbone.
I very much appreciate that perspective. And the idea of divesting of an asset that's indispensable right now is not just a Navy problem. I mean, we've seen the same on MQ-9s and Apaches and A-10s and systems that our warfighters continue to rely on, which is why divesting to invest, which was sold under the previous administration because of continuing resolutions and insufficient budgets, created a gap where now you're getting rid of the very things that you need right now, and you don't have available things of the future that you said you would have because of the way this department did business.